Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Listen and grow as Del questions the status quo, encourages you to think differently, and empowers you to make a better life. Get ready as Del challenges core beliefs, seeks the truth, and reveals the roadmap to the lifestyle you really want. And now your host, multi-millionaire, national award-winning investor, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, Del Walmsley.
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Today, my friends, we are going to do the next one issue of a series that I started just this January. It's because I'm so motivated about the fact that real estate's back to normal again and deals are good. Interest rates are coming down, and it's a great opportunity. It's absolutely one of the best opportunities to get started in real estate in the last since 2008. So I'm trying to get everybody stimulated, I believe, not in motivation, but in inspiration. So I started this new series just for this month, which is basically bringing people on to talk about what is the outcome of being able to financially replace your earned income with passive income. I mean, sure, we all spend time still operating our properties, but not a lot of time, quite honestly. You know, a couple hours a day, maybe. Some people it's a couple hours a week. With my case, that's even less than a couple hours a week. Well, yeah, whatever. The bottom line is very little. It doesn't impede on you being able to do whatever you want, when you want, wherever you, with whomever you want. And still having enough money to be able to afford to do that is really an important thing, because a lot of people could be broke and do whatever they want, but they don't have any money to do anything. So this new series is about what it feels like to be on the other side of that hump. And we'll try to throw some real estate information in there also, but it's really not the deep end of what I'm trying to bring out in this series. So with me today, I've asked someone to come on that I've known for a long time. He's been retired for quite a while. And what's interesting is I asked him to do it within, like, can you do it today? And give you an hour. No prep, nothing. Boom, he's here. Why is that important? How many of you could just throw up your hands in the middle of the day, get a call 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, go, hey, could you go on the radio at 11 o'clock today and do this? He could. That's the difference between being real estate retired and having a job, a W-2, one of those things called, what's a job? Just above broke. What does that mean? Quiet desperation. Long drives in the morning and long drives back home at night, and spending a day in the rat race wheel going round and round and round, or in your little cubicle, just sitting there in cubicle prison. That's the options, and today we have Carlos here. Carlos is out of Miami, Florida, used to live in Houston, Texas, is back in Houston looking at some of his properties, and also he may be going to the same event I'm going to tomorrow. So, Carlos, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Well, Carlos, I know you're a pretty low-key individual, so I don't expect you to get up and rah-rah or whatever, but I do want you to share with us, if you can, with the most amount of enthusiasm and honesty you can, what it's like to have crossed over. And we'll get into, and we're going to do this backwards, and you've been on before where, you know, you've done a Tell Del where we talk about all the financial stuff first, and then we talk about what does that mean to your life. This time we're going to turn it backwards and talk about what does it mean to your life, and then we'll throw some stuff in the back end. But just for a preface for people tuning in right now, just so they have an idea what you do own, share with us what you own right now and maybe how many properties you might have bought and sold in between. Give us just a quick background.
So I have about 600 units. That's across 4 properties. That's all in Houston. So that's why I come back to Houston once or twice a month. Sometimes a little bit more, but you know, there's always something going on. This is where my core is really. So you know, we're going to the economist meeting tomorrow. You know, I participate in a lot of lifestyles events in Houston also. You know, when we can do online stuff, we do online stuff, but there's always something going on in Houston. So I try to coordinate my being in Houston with some of those events. There's an apartment association event later this week also. So I'm, you know, very involved in the apartment association. I'm on the board of directors in the apartment association. So back to the properties, 600 units approximately in Houston across 4 properties. I'm passive in 3 deals right now, I believe. 4 deals. I'm passing 4 deals. A few hundred units there. I've sold about 1,000 units that I was a lead in. I was probably passive in another 400 or 500 more deals that are, have either sold or I've moved on from them. And I have an IRO deal that's a small 14 unit that a few years ago I wanted to buy something I can do an extensive rehab on. And, I wanted to buy something either in the Heights or in Montrose, which is a real nice part of town. Both of them were a real nice part of town in Houston. And, I was looking and there was a property that was about to be foreclosed on. And the lender, somebody who I had a relationship, the lender calls me and says, hey, the lender had actually called me a year and a half before and when the guy was trying to get a loan and said, hey, I'm doing this loan. What do you think of this deal? Does it make sense with this underwriting? And I said, yeah, if the guy doesn't pay, call me. And so a year later, he calls me and says, hey, the guy didn't pay. You still want the deal? And I'm like, yeah, I want the deal. So, it's relationships. That's what most businesses are about.
So how long has it been since you've had a W-2, if ever? I don't know if you've ever had a W-2, have you?
So I never had. So I went to college. Some people know, I lived in Portugal for about half of my life. I went to college in Portugal, and out of college, I had a job for a year. And about a year to the day, I put in my resignation and I quit, and I started my own business. And in Portugal, I started a construction business. And I did that for 10 or 12 years, which is why construction is kind of in my blood, which is why I was looking for a rehab unit to do in Montrose at some point in time. And so, it all ties in, right?
Absolutely. So when you came to the U.S. and first came here, what were you doing when you first got to the U.S.? So
I was lucky enough to have a distant relative who had, I came in 2006. My relative had been, my parents' age. He had already been in the multifamily business for 20 or 30 years. And when I told him I was moving back to the U.S., he said, my plan was I was going to go and live in Florida and go and work for a construction company because that's what I knew. And I ran into my friend, and he said, "What are you going to do?" And then when I told him, he said, "Well, let's sit down and talk about this one day." And so we sat down, and we started looking around all the United States of where we can buy some property. And he was in New Jersey, he had property in New Jersey, and he's like, "Let's go buy some property somewhere else. Pick anywhere on the map." And we bought our first property in Pennsylvania, and coincidentally after that, somehow Houston came on the radar, and I came to Houston, and within about 2 hours, I knew this is where I was going to live for the next few years. And that property I sold in 2018, and I stayed passively invested with the guy. That guy sold it in 2 or 3 years later, and it came back to Lifestyles, and I'm still invested in that deal with somebody at Lifestyles. I'm a passive investor in that deal with somebody at Lifestyles. I saw your life take an immediate U-turn to almost bliss. I mean, your personality just flipped on the light switch. I won't say changed because you've always been an excitable person, but your light switch went on. You decided to move to Miami. You bought yourself a speedboat or a big ski boat. I mean, all of a sudden you were partying all over the country. It was just a complete overnight change. Tell us what it feels like to feel that freedom, to know that your life is going the right direction. I guess, in all aspects of life, at some point in time, at some point you might realize you're in the wrong place, or you're trying to be the wrong person, and you have to get free of that and to become the person that you are, or that you want to be. But you have to get free from the whatever it is that's keeping you where you're at. A lot of times it's a job.
But you were able to completely change your life. I know the divorce was just one segment of it. What all changes mentally did you make when you finally decided you were going to go be the person you wanted to be?
I guess it's just, we were just in different worlds and different art, and it didn't make sense to be in that place in life anymore.
Well, it wasn't very long after that you just somehow popped up with the love of your life, and you've remarried, and you guys are just a great couple. Tell us about how you knew she was going to be the right person, what you guys talked about, how we were going to live the rest of our life. What's it like to actually be happy?
Yeah, so we just have you see eye to eye with almost everything. Obviously, there's there'll be a couple of things where you're not 100%, but you see the eye to eye with almost everything, to where you don't even have to talk about it or discuss it. You already know what the other person is thinking, and it goes both ways. And we just enjoy very much a lot of the same things, and we're both enjoy being around people and people persons, and we just keep on increasing our circle of friends, and it just grows without even trying.
When did you guys, I got to look at my clock here, I got 27 and we get out at 30, so we got a couple of minutes, 2 minutes. So when did you guys decide that you wanted to make a move to Miami? And what was the impetus for that?
Yeah, so like I said previously, I'm not sure if I said it earlier or not. When I came to the U.S. originally, my original plan was to live in Florida. And so I kind of had this gravitation to eventually be in Florida. She's lived in Florida for 22, 23 years. She was there. So I met her after spending time there. I don't think I had quite moved yet, but I had, spent some time there, and, we met each other one day. And so here's the funny thing, one day I was asking her, hey, whenever we go out to dinner, people call me. It's like, hey, let's do something. Pick a place. And when I meet her, her friends did the exact same thing with her. It's like, hey, let's go out to dinner, pick a place. I'm like, wow, that's hilarious.
So you two are the influencers and also the connectors that know everybody. So together, both being that must be really fun.
It is.
So what about the boat? What made you decide to buy the boat?
I mean, there's just a lot of water there, and it's just a fun thing to do. And you join friends and you bring friends, and it's a good atmosphere and good environment. It's the weather's always good. We went out on Friday, and it was freezing in Houston, and over there we're going on a boat ride, and we didn't swim, but there were a lot of people swimming.
So, not to put words in your mouth, that's unsanitary, but would you give me a yes or a no on the boat is just something that it's money spent that makes you better, more efficient connectors with people?
I wouldn't say that so much, but it is a gathering point. It is definitely a gathering point. Alternative to dinner or something like that. It's definitely a place where people gather during the day, which is a lot of fun too.
Gotcha. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Real Estate Retired, Carlos Neto, and the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Teaching you with a roadmap to creating the lifestyle you really want. Keep listening. The Del Walmsley Radio Show returns in moments.
Need more unconventional wisdom that'll set you free? Subscribe to Lifestyles Unlimited on YouTube and binge content that will actually help you get where you want to go in life from people who are already there. With over 50,000 members and 32 years of proven success, there's so much more we want to share with you than what we have time for on the radio. On YouTube, we go beyond our shows and feature our best content from podcasts, interviews, expo, Masters Tour, fireside chats, special events, and more.
You're hearing the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Want more life-changing knowledge? Access our podcast and listen on demand at lifestylesunlimited.com under the radio tab. Now your host, Del Walmsley.
Welcome back to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. With me here today on this new series called Real Estate Retired that I created for January because the market has returned to a buyer's market. It's a great opportunity. I've seen stuff that I haven't seen since 2008. It's opportunities to buy real estate. The prices have come down quite a bit. The interest rates are starting to come down a little bit. So it's going to be one of those perfect storms where both things are going to actually happen at the same time. You're going to be able to get a decent price and get a decent interest rate, and it's going to be a great investment opportunity. Now, I've been sharing Carlos's story with you today. If you'd like to be somebody like Carlos, I'm putting on a grandiose push to get people in here this month and get you guys started up doing this so that you don't miss this opportunity. It's only going to last 12 to 18 months is what everybody's talking about. You need to get in here now. So I've got an opportunity for you. Our membership's normally $740 for 2 years, and I'm going to give it to you for $297. I think you can afford $297 for 2 years. Think about that, of being around the most excited, motivated, educated real estate investors in the country. And Carlos will cover that in a second here. But if you want to get in, I want to give you this opportunity. Go to DellHelpMeNow.com. That's DellHelpMeNow.com, all one word. And the Dell is DEL for those that don't know. It's not Dale, it's Dell, DEL, just like Del Taco. And DEL, one L, not Dell the computer, DEL, DellHelpMeNow.com. And you'll see a place there where you can get in for it's going to say $740, but you put in the code DEL, D-E-L, and it'll drop to $297 for you. So go ahead and hit that up. And we look forward to getting you here as soon as possible. Carlos, I'll bring you back in now. One of the things I think is interesting, you as a connector could really sort of comment on this. I know your wife's got her group of people that you fell into, and you guys have probably got couples, groups of people you've fallen into. But when you came to Lifestyles, you really hit it off big and fast because you are a connector and there's so many people. What I'd like you to do is share, in your opinion, what it felt like to be amongst this kind of people, this group of people, the way they all think the same. And well, you explain it. What makes it easy that there's so many people that get involved in social issues when this is really supposed to be a real estate training program?
Yeah, so it goes back to I guess we all think in very many ways, or in some ways in a very similar fashion. And I'm just I've been in other real estate programs before. I've been around and I've seen a lot of different ones. Like we said earlier, I was in Houston, and there was a few groups, and I was a member of one, and I wasn't really interested in being in all of them. But I was involved in the apartment association, and that's where I met the Lifestyles people at the IRO meetings. And we're talking back in 2008, and it was Tenny and Curtis and Ira, Emery, and Scott Van Ostren, and as I get to meet these guys at these meetings, and over a few months, I'm like, man, this is a whole different level of what I'm used to, of what group that this other group that I was in, and I had to join as quick as I could. It's just a different level of knowledge. The people that come in are usually smart people. A lot of people have either been in a high position in a different business or sold a business, and so they are very high level people. And when they join and we form a group and we form our knowledge all joins, it is mind boggling sometimes the amount of knowledge that we get together in a room. And it shows every single time we get together and every time we have a meeting and discuss, topics, the level of knowledge is extremely high. And that's why I've been a member since 2010. So 12 years later, that's why I'm still here. And there's people that I know here that have been members for much longer than me. So, It's just a high level of knowledge and membership. And now that we're on the topic, I wanted to say, now that you threw out the special, we're trying to grow the Florida group. Anybody in Florida, we have meetings in a few different cities. Join and be a part of it.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting part of what we do is that we have little subgroups all over the country, and ambassadors in those subgroups to kind of hold everybody together, and they have little meetings because, real estate's local. It's not national, but we can buy national because we have local groups. That's kind of a interesting little yin-yang of it. Because we have local groups, we can buy nationally, et cetera, and so forth. But when you look at these situations, Carlos, these groups have to be held together by somebody. I mean, they don't just work. There needs to be a connector in every one of these cities. So are you operating as a connector down there, or do you have somebody else that's an ambassador?
There's 3 and 4 ambassadors. I'm not an ambassador. Leads are not allowed to be ambassadors, so I'm not an ambassador, but I am definitely working with the ambassadors and trying to help them grow the groups. The bigger the groups, the stronger we are, the better we are at the end of the day. And I just love people and think people are interesting. And so the more people in the group, the more lifestyles is the majority of the place where I've met the majority of my close friends today. So, it goes back to the we have so much in common, or have a lot of things in common that make us want to spend a lot of time together, even when we're not talking about real estate.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All the names that you just rattled off there, by the way, are all multi-millionaires. All of them are at this point where each and every one of them have given back in some way to Lifestyles to help other members and whatever. But what happens is there is this maturity continuum that they get out there to where they're beyond. They're not involved to the level anymore because they don't need to. They're gone. They just disappear off the face of the earth, and they go where they want, do what they want. And, it's like when you're first involved, you're really tied to it. So let's talk about, you've been around a long time, let's talk about the new people, because they are tied tightly to this thing. They're wound up. They're ready to go. They're excited. They want to do something. They want the results as quick as they possibly can, but it doesn't come overnight. You watching from the inside out, share with us if you can somehow, what are the average turnaround times for people to get themselves into that position where they go through the different stages? So they buy something, then they buy another something, and then maybe they retire one person in the family, and then they buy something else and retire another one, or, it's all different variations. But just in any form that you want to share what your observations are about people coming in and what they should think about how long before they should be buying tickets to all over the world.
So it's very interesting because, like I said earlier, these people that join, we're getting some smart people in the groups. And so, constantly people are outdoing the previous people. But, deals now, the first few deals people are doing, the first few deals are getting in and out of the first 1, 2, 3 deals in 2-3 years. Even 1 year. I think Miles deal like a year. I think he did it a year and a half.
Yeah.
He was in and out of that deal, and he made, I don't remember what it was, but some gargantuan amount of money for everybody. And when there were no deals, apparently, and that's just it just gets better and better. We just get better at it, and we learn, and the getting in and out of your first few deals in 2 or 3 years just seems to make a lot of sense, and makes a lot of happy people. And that's why people stick around.
Let's talk about the fact that you now are very, very young compared to me. And at your age, I don't think I saw life as completely as you do. So talk about, what does life look like to a young guy and wife, when you know that the secret to being wealthy, the people that already made it in front of you. It's just a matter of deciding what you want out of life. How do you see that? What do you guys talk about?
I think we have our best days are still ahead of us. I mean, and it's different for everybody, but we enjoy, like I said earlier, we enjoy people. So, doing things with other people and making more friends and getting closer to the friends we have, and that's what we enjoy. And that could be that could be traveling or not traveling. It could be a dinner. It could be just a coffee, having a coffee somewhere, and you get to know people, and people are just so interesting.
Definitely you're a people person. I'm going to ask you a question I don't know if you have the answer to, but could you in any way, shape, or form give me an answer to how many countries have you visited in your life?
I mean, I don't think the number is that big. If I were to throw a number in the air, maybe 10. We have people in Houston that for work visit 20, 30 countries, within a few years. So, but, it's not only just the number, but it's, how do you enjoy it, right?
There's a couple guys in our group, the scuba divers, that have been in every major scuba place in the world. There are mountain climbers that have been in every major mountain climbing place in the world. There are guys that are part of a Jeep club, and they've been to, every major Jeep running location in the U.S. I don't know if they've gone abroad for that. They might have, but mostly it's just U.S. There's all these different kinds of clubs of things people do that once they have this freedom, it's just unlimited time. And again, it's not unlimited money, but it's enough money to be able to take advantage of that unlimited time. I know that, we both like to do all kinds of things, all different types of trips, and I really won't share any of our personal trips just because we keep the privacy down. People will talk about them after we go, but not before we go. But there's all kinds of stuff going on in lifestyles all the time, is there not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you were talking earlier about the membership and the special that you did. I mean, have you ever counted how many events are on a calendar for a month? There's, I would imagine, 30, 40 events on any particular month. I mean, there's always something going on somewhere. And it's incredible. And, we don't just get together and talk about real estate, because before you know it, you're talking about something else. Like you just said, before you know it, you're talking about, somebody's talking about, hey, I just went scuba diving here. It's like, oh, you dive? I want to dive, or I dive also, you compare notes. And then next step from comparing notes is let's go together. And so, that's how that happens.
There's no doubt. And those are some of the most fun trips in the world. When you go with people that, number one, think like you think, and number two, have enough funds to be able to just enjoy life without worrying about, there's a big difference between going and scrimping by and having fun. There's another big difference from billionaires and just blowing it out on $200 million yacht. We're not there. But we can go and have a good time and enjoy ourselves. I would
challenge that they don't have more fun than us. I mean, just because you blow in this unlimited amount of money doesn't mean you're enjoying proportionately that much more fun.
We're getting pushed out the back end. I want to take the time to thank you very much.
Thank you.
I called you out of the blue, said, would you please come on and do this? And I appreciate that, man. And we're going to try to get together all those Florida people you're talking about, and we'll get them on the radio sometime. If you can corral them all up, we'll put them on, and we'll have a big Florida conversation. For everybody else, remember this, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.
The information and opinions you hear on the Del Walmsley Radio Show are those of the host, Del Walmsley, his guests, and his callers. The Del Walmsley Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Del Walmsley Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.